Hi there, everybody. This is Candycane Jane. I am here with Lynxwynx. Lynxwynx, say hello.
Hi,
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, but I took a pretty good nap today.
Mm-hmm.
I've got I've got like water mixed with like a lemonade packet with caffeine, so that's pretty cool.
True.
So I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Caffeine is a gamer's dream every single day.
Like my pre tournament thing now is I go to Dunkin' Donuts, I get like a big iced coffee, and I just try to like gulp it down before the tournament so that I'm extremely caffeinated and I can focus.
Yeah. Caffeine no, caffeine is OP when it comes to video games. So, I do
Yeah.
have some questions on the line for you. You ready for these?
Oh, I'm ready. Yeah.
Awesome. So, first question up. In your time playing Melee, what are some of the most memorable things that you've learned about the game? Either the game itself or competitively.
So I'd say from like a broad life lesson standpoint, one of the biggest things I've learned is that you can't really focus too much on the destination. It's about the journey. I know that's like really cliche, but if you don't like enjoy what you're doing, like while you're doing it, everything's just gonna pass you by. Either that, or you're just never gonna get to where you want to be anyway because you're looking too far ahead. So like I've always just tried to enjoy like the game itself, the people that I've met, like the opportunities I've gotten to have. Like if it weren't for melee tournaments, I probably would have like never been to some of the places I've been to. Um, like one of my like best tournament experiences was going to Smash Valley 5, I think, and like just hanging out with my friends, and we got like snowed in because it was supposed to be a 1 day event, and we got snowed in, and there were like 2 feet of snow outside, and we were in the middle of nowhere because like Penn State, it's like in the middle of PA, and there's like nothing around it. So we had to like stay a night at a hotel, and we just all had fun, and like I had more fun doing that than like the actual like you know act of competing. Um, so I think like my biggest piece of advice too would just be like enjoy where you are because you can't take that for granted because you can always have fun, you can always meet new people, you can always do new things. um Getting away from like the sappy life lesson stuff, in terms of like stuff about the game, I think the coolest things that I've learned about the game are so I like the first time I learned that Peach could like roll to the edge and throw turnip down and it would go like off the stage was like one of the coolest moments I had playing Melee. Um, Also, when I discovered that uh, if you like up B somebody's shield with like Marth from the ground and they hit you, you always get invisible ceiling like on the left side. That was really cool to learn. It's gotten me killed a bunch, but it's very funny. Uh, I don't know, like I'm just really like scatterbrained when it comes to melee because I've been playing the game since I was like a little kid. Like I've been playing since I was like 3 or 4 years old. I didn't start competing when I was 3 or 4 years old, but
Could you imagine?
yeah. Wait, did you watch like Smash World Tour and like they had the graphic of like like the year since every player was like active when they started competing? And Ginger said he's been playing in tournaments since he was like 2000 since 2003. And I'm like, what kind of tournament? Did you go to like a GameStop tournament or something? Like, how? He must have been like 8. That's crazy. I wish I was that much of a gamer. That I was going to tournaments at 8 years old.
Yeah. God, don't we all wish that? So, I do have a question going back to the sappy stuff, actually.
Yeah.
How do you feel balancing melee as a competitive focus and then the other side of using melee as a mechanism to have fun?
Um. So I think it's like really easy to lose perspective when it comes to that sort of thing, and I think like it's happened to me a few times too, where like I just got way too hung up on my results, and uh, there were also some like pretty like bad times in my life where that happened, where like I got like really depressed and like I was still like playing melee and going to tournaments, and so like I focus on my results because it's like I'm not getting any enjoyment out of the game right now because depression sort of just like sucks enjoyment out of everything, and so like you only focus on your results. But I think like the way that I've learned to balance it is playing more friendlies. Like It sounds like a really like oversimplistic idea, but just like playing the game more like in a non-serious capacity, playing the game more to like learn instead of having it always be about competition. That really helps. What also really helps is like looking at tournaments as a way to like sort of consolidate the things that you've learned and have it be like where you show off like what you've practiced and not necessarily the be all end all for like how good of a competitor you are, because one result does not define you. Like you can't let it define you, and progress isn't linear. That's also a bit of a cliche, but it's whatever. But like one result is not the end of the world, whether it's like good or bad. So like you need to use tournaments as like a way to sort of just like show off like what you've been learning, and like sometimes like learning more does not always translate to better results, but it doesn't matter. Learning more makes you a better player, regardless of like how you're placing. So I think like keeping that idea in mind has like really helped out, and like just enjoying the game for what the game is too has really helped me have more fun with it.
Yeah. Mm. I recently saw that you have been experimenting more and trying to learn more from a perspective of matchups and game plans. How would you say you approached how would you say that you approach different matchups before learning the game plans, and how do you now that you know the game plans?
Okay, so when I first started competing, this is going to sound really stupid because it is really stupid, but I started competing because when I was like 13 or 14, I saw like a Mewtwo King combo video, and I'm like, I really want to do that. That looks like the coolest thing in the world. So when I started going to tournaments and I started playing the game, my like idea was to just learn all of the Marth stuff, and then the Marth stuff is good, so I will beat people. Like that's how it has to work, right? Um, and then it didn't help because like the first region that I lived in, it's everybody calls it 717, but like it's basically like central Pennsylvania, like York County, Lancaster County, Harrisburg. All those players are like super cool people, but everyone in that region played either Marth or Falco. So like when I was like first competing, I didn't really have to learn game plans all that much because like it was like a lot simpler. Like I wasn't like being really exposed to like a bunch of like different play styles and stuff. You know, you're playing the same people every week. But then as time went on, as like net play became a thing, as like I branched out, I moved to Philadelphia for college in like 2018, and I started playing against like really really good players because a lot of really good players go to Temple. Dawson goes to Temple. Slug was going to Temple for a while. Chem came to Temple a couple years ago. Chem is like fucking crazy at the game, and like I'm playing all these matchups against really good players, and I realize I actually don't know what I'm doing. Like I know all the mechanical stuff, I know all the technical stuff, I know how my character works, but I'm literally just going in there and flailing. Like I'm going in there without a plan, and I'm getting messed up and just hope. Like I'm going in without a plan and hoping for the best, and sometimes it works because sometimes like you can just run somebody over, like depending on like the skill discrepancy. But like if you go in without a plan, eventually somebody's gonna have a plan, and their plan's gonna be better than the fact that you don't have a plan. That sounds really dumb, but like I realized, okay, so if I want to do better and I want to understand the game more deeply, I need to actually like understand how the game works, and I need to understand how all the other characters work besides the ones that I've just played against a bunch. And so when it came to that, I realized that I need to have some sort of like basic foundation for how I'm going to approach like neutral and punish game in every matchup. And that's kind of where like the whole game plan thing comes in. Knowing what options are good, knowing what options are good at what percents, like that kind of thing. It's the sort of thing that like top players have been talking about for a while, and I didn't really get it maybe until like a couple of years ago, if that makes any sense. So like that's why I've been taking that approach more, and it's really helped out. I feel like I'm learning more now, and I'm actually playing and practicing more productively.
Mm. And out of curiosity, before you did learn these game plans and what to actually focus in on, what were you focusing in on?
Uh, so I sort of had this idea that I could go full gamer mode, and like I can focus on the other player all the time. Like, okay, so let's say for example, I'm dash dancing in neutral, and somebody is trying to play neutral with me. And like, okay, I can always bait them. I can always do the same thing. I can just dash dance grab and it'll work. Or Marth's fair is so big, I'm gonna just keep bearing them and they're not gonna be able to do anything about it. And like I was too concerned about my character. I was like in my own bubble and I wasn't thinking about the other person enough, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I also feel like the way that people used to talk about Melee didn't really help, because people had this idea that like, oh, you could beat people with mind games and stuff, and you could beat people just by like outthinking them all the time, and that's not really like how like most games work. Like even when I first started playing in like 2015, people were still talking like that. I don't really feel like that's ever been super true, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole mind game saga has been like absolutely hot taked to death, to the point where I think that any merit that mind games do have has been completely lost in both directions.
Yeah, I definitely think there's such a thing as like being able to like psych somebody out. Like you can, make them overly scared of a certain option, and like you can condition them to do certain things. But like the way that like really old school players talk about mind games, like, oh, I did this really stupid option, and like now like they're terrified of me. Like, no, that's never how it's worked. Like, and I definitely get what you're saying though, like in both directions, because like mental game and mind games, like psyching somebody out, it's definitely a thing, and I love doing that to people. I love conditioning people to like roll in or like be scared of a certain option. But I don't know. I feel like even the people that like were really into the idea of mind games didn't necessarily know exactly what they were talking about.
Mm-hmm. It was that sort of think of it, mysticism, melee mysticism. I think that mind games were the melee mysticism for a long, long time. So, you play Marth, who is a royal.
Yeah.
Upon scrolling your Twitter for a while, the only character matchup that I couldn't see any sort of hot take against was Peach. Do you think that Marth and Peach have a royal respect for each other? And do you think that it's legitimate, or do you think that it is due to the fact that they are both royals?
Wow, that's a really good question. I think it's because they both sort of just, it might be diplomacy a little bit, but I do think they have like a genuine respect for each other. I think it's the sort of thing where they both acknowledge that they're very good leaders of their own kingdoms. I've never played a Fire Emblem game, so I don't know. But Peach does a pretty good job rolling over like all the toads and stuff. But, like she seems like a very nice, kind, cordial ruler, and I think Marth really respects her qualities as a leader. And like he sees like, wow, like she's doing a pretty good job over there. Like she keeps like Bowser wouldn't want to kidnap her if she wasn't a good leader, right? Like
That's believable.
And I think the way Peach looks at Marth, like Peach is sort of just like, wow, like this guy looks super cool, I guess.
Wow.
I don't know.
What a twink.
What a twink. Like, I don't know. I've never played a Fire Emblem game, but I do think there's a genuine respect between the two of them. Yeah.
Okay, so having never played a Fire Emblem game, what do you think Marth's about?
I think he's like the goodiest goody two shoes in existence, probably. Like I think that's probably like his entire morality. He's probably not like a super deep character in Fire Emblem. He's probably just kind of like, the good guy, if that makes any sense. But like he's like, but he like really leans into it. He's not a goody two shoes just because he thinks it's the right thing to do. Like he's a goody two shoes because he genuinely believes it. And so like he's kind of boring, but like, he'd be a cool guy to hang out with, I guess.
Fair enough. I mean, it'd be rather difficult for us to hang out with him as he only speaks Japanese and we don't.
Yeah, and I think like the Fire Emblem games are set like 1,000 years ago, so.
Yeah, he'd be pretty old by now. I don't know if I'd be comfortable with talking to someone like beyond a century older than me, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Just be weird. Now, I have run through all the questions that I have lined up. Is there anything that you can think of that you would like the audience to know about you as a player going into Gaylee Summit 3?
So, as a player, well, first of all, as a person, I have a problem with describing and talking about myself because, like, I don't know. Like, it's weird because I feel like it's all subjective. Like, especially with like play style. Like, I've talked to people who are like, "Wow, you're like the dopest Marth I've ever played against," and I've talked about people who are like, "Wow, you're such a cheeser. All you do is dash back and grab." And so, like, first of all, like, a lot of times that really is just like the salt talking. I feel like I don't take that kind of thing personally anymore. But I think the things I emphasize the most with my playstyle are I really like one of the main things is I really like playing around my opponent's options. Um, Sort of the idea of just playing really skillfully and like taking advantage of the fact that Marth's movement is so good and his range is so good that I can kind of like let people make the first move and then capitalize on it. I also really, when it comes to punish game, I really like going for really goofy reads. And it's like really funny, but like I've gotten so much better over like the last year and a half of like baiting out bad rolls and bad tech rolls and stuff. And I've like really had a lot of fun learning more about like exploiting people's defensive habits. And so like I really enjoy just like playing a good ground game and like knocking somebody down and making them roll into me. I think it's like the biggest like it's the biggest galaxy brain move. Like I feel like a genius when it happens. I go forward and then I go back and then they roll into me and I'm like, yes, this is exactly what I play the game for. This is what I'm here for. So if that answers the question, then yeah, that's what I like to do. That's what I like to do when I play Melee.
True. And people should be watching out for every moment that you get that whenever they tune in to any of your games.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that we're good. Just be wrapping up here. Do you have any shout outs to give?
Uh, I would like to give a huge shout out to 717 Melee and Philadelphia Melee for helping me learn the game and like helping me get better as a player. I'd like to give a huge shout out to a lot of my friends, Zion, Anthony, Caleb, like a bunch of the people that like I grew up with and became friends with. I'd like to give a big shout out to Smash 4 for getting me more into competitive Smash in the first place. And I'd like to give a huge shout out to Trinity, Melee Sad Post. Not only does she run HeartSwap TV, who sponsors me, but she's been extremely supportive.
Editing Jane here. Audacity cut out for a second here, but what Lynxwynx was saying was huge shout outs to Trinity and everything that they do for HeartSwap TV, Gaylee, and for all of our players. Thank you so much, Trinity.
Like, you know, we both wouldn't be here doing this if it weren't for Trinity. So, like, yeah, those are my shout outs, I would say. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for this interview, Lynxwynx, and you have yourself a good night.
Thank you. Take care.
You too.